Thanks so much for joining us here on 9 News Plus. I'm 9 News meteorologist Chris Bianchi. So I know the big weather story right now, it's not necessarily the weather, it's the smoke. It's the wildfire smoke that continues to filter on down from northern Canada. And I kind of want to get into some more details and a bit more of an explanation about what we're seeing in terms of that wildfire smoke and where it's coming from, and a bit more specifics about how unusual it is for us here in the middle to end part of May to be talking about plumes of smoke thanks to wildfires in northern Alberta and northern British Columbia. First things first, let's take a look outside. This is what we're seeing right now from Lookout Mountain. Again, this is tons of smoke from about 2,000, if not 2,500 miles away in the northern parts of the Canadian provinces of British Columbia, as well as Alberta, and also, by the way, parts of the Northwest Territories of northern Canada. This is where all the smoke is coming from and continues to filter its way on down here into the lower 48. Some of the smoke has reached as far east as the eastern seaboard of the U.S. We've seen it in places like the Carolinas, north into New England, across much of the Midwest, and across, of course, here in Colorado, much of the western U.S. as well. So Denver feeling the pinch of that. The smoke, generally speaking right now, is about moderate in terms of the air quality right now. It's about, again, moderate levels of that air quality, and still unhealthy for some groups, but for the most part, that smoke not quite as bad as it was back on Saturday, but I do expect that smoke to get worse later on today before it starts getting better late tomorrow and into your Wednesday morning. All right, let's take a look at the satellite picture. And you kind of see it here, kind of dissipates here towards the end, but look at that smoke just filtering on down from the north and the east. And that is thanks to, again, that smoke that continues to build in. And think about the Rocky Mountains as kind of a wall. So a question I've been getting a whole lot of is why Denver and why Colorado seems to be getting the worst of the smoke, even compared to places that are closer to the fires themselves. The reason why is, think about cigarette smoke and how that travels, and that cigarette smoke will continue to travel and waft until it kind of hits something. So if you might smell a cigarette or the smoke from a cigarette better 100 feet away, for example, if you're right next to a wall that's trapping in that cigarette smoke compared to something right next to that cigarette smoke itself. Again, if that kind of makes sense a little bit, the Rocky Mountains and the Palmer Divide kind of act as a bit of a wall, and they stop that smoke from spreading south and east, and unfortunately traps it in for us here along the Front Range. And also worth noting just how quickly the Rocky Mountains spike up. It's a sharp increase in that elevation. Again, that kind of firms up that wall a bit more as well. Denver would go from 5,280 feet right up to 14,000 feet, 9,000 foot elevation increase in about 50 miles, if not less than that. So that's a very sharp increase in elevation. Again, it just kind of permeates, it kind of strengthens that wall that I'm speaking of. All right, but of course, one of the big questions I keep getting is where the smoke is coming from. And a lot of you at this point probably know that this smoke originates in Canada, in the provinces of British Columbia and Alberta. I kind of want to show you here on this map. This is fascinating to me. This is not just maybe the southern part of Canada. Look how far north this smoke comes from. This is coming from all the way up here. And again, this is central northern Canada. This is not here. We're not talking about the U.S.-Canadian border. This is way, way, way up there in northern Alberta. This is further north than most of the population centers here of Canada, or at least the major ones. Edmonton is the furthest north major city in Canada, at least a city with 1 million or more residents and population. And this is north. These fires are north of Edmonton. Again, this is getting into the center part, if not the northern part of the country. We're only a few hundred miles south of the Arctic Circle this far north, at least with the northern extent of these fires. So this is way, way, way up there, folks, in terms of where these fires are originating. We've had over 1 million acres that have been burnt, about 30,000 residents. Again, this is a sparsely populated area, but this is about 30,000 residents have been evacuated, and this is thanks to a very dry winter and spring. Really what ended up happening was back in the beginning part of this month, get this, in Fort McMurray, which is right next to the furthest right of those fire icons that you see there on your screen, right next there, they hit 90 degrees on May the 1st. 90 degrees that far north. For context, Denver has not hit 90 degrees so far this spring season. So way up there, Edmonton hit 84 earlier on this month. 90 degrees, and it was accompanied by really strong winds. That is dangerous stuff, and unfortunately the timing of these fires, it started in between the end of the snowmelt and the start of the green up season. So there's that little time frame, a couple weeks or so. We get that here in Colorado as well, where we've got a kind of an extra bit of danger for wildfires, but really, really warm temperatures. And the result is all those fires that started burning over 1 million acres. And we're seeing that smoke. And unfortunately, it's going to stay down here into Denver in the Front Range for the next couple of days. The worst of it is probably later today. That wildfire smoke, it takes some time for it to filter down towards the surface. So that fire smoke, it travels mostly through the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. So it moves through at about maybe 20 or 30,000 feet. So once it reaches us, and once it reaches that so-called wall of the Rocky Mountains, it takes some time for it to kind of filter down towards the surface. Think about taking a couple of feathers and throwing them off the top of a skyscraper. It's that kind of sort of idea where it just takes a little time for it to float down towards the surface, and that smoke has arrived, and we're seeing it mostly at the upper levels of the atmosphere right now. But in terms of the surface, we'll see the worst of that smoke move through later on today, and that will get worse and worse as we head through the day. So right now, air quality about moderate levels. It's obviously very notable as you step outside. You're seeing it, you're feeling it. I know my eyes are itchy. I'm sure a lot of yours are as well. And that air quality is only going to decrease as we head through the day. So I would just generally avoid outdoor, prolonged periods spending time outdoors. I mentioned this earlier on this morning. If you've got a Nuggets watch party or something like that, bring it inside and use air filters. The Centers for Disease Control, the CDC, has a lot of different resources about ways to kind of filter your air inside to keep it safe, and especially for asthmatics, for sensitive breathing groups. This is a really good idea even today. I would expect some air quality alerts to be issued for Northeast Colorado later on today, as well as that smoke starts to filter down towards the surface. Otherwise, 7-day forecast and that smoke forecast as well. Once we get past all of this, as we get near Wednesday, we should start to see a bit of a wind shift, and that will bring us more of a southwest flow. That should really start to filter out some of that smoke. Again, tomorrow, for the most part, pretty similar to today, maybe a little better at the back half of the day, a little worse in the morning. And then Wednesday, we should start to see some more substantial improvements, and same for Thursday and Friday. And we'll have more shower and thunderstorm chances each of those days as well. Now, another thing, I mentioned those shower and thunderstorm chances. When we get wildfire smoke like this, it also acts as a bit of a lid or a cap on the atmosphere. It dries and it stabilizes the atmosphere, so that wildfire smoke does have a direct impact on our weather. A couple things it does. One is it knocks back our daily temperatures by about 2, maybe 3 degrees. If you didn't have smoke, it'd probably be about 2 to 3 degrees warmer, because you've got that smoke that's limiting that sunshine from reaching the surface and warming us up as much as it might normally. And then, as I mentioned, the other part of it is that you've got that lid on the atmosphere, that smoke. It keeps some of that more stable air in place, and it dries the air mass as well. It makes it harder for showers and thunderstorms to form. So it's a bit of that domino effect sometimes. You can get that sort of domino effect where you get those wildfires that start, and then they make it tougher for it to rain and to potentially put out some of those fires. Now, that said, I kind of want to quickly go back to this view one more time up here into northern parts of Canada, because this may give us a little bit of good news as we get over the next couple of days, is that we're seeing some clouds and some rain for us in the region that's being affected by those really severe showers and thunderstorms, and that up into the northern part of Canada, and that will help us with some of those fires up that way as we head over the next couple of days. And also expecting some more wet weather in northern Alberta, northern British Columbia, and western parts of the Northwest Territories of Northwest Canada, where we're seeing these fires originate from. That should help out with that smoke forecast, which should help out with the firefighting up that way. So again, maybe some good news in the coming days in terms of our short-term forecast for the smoke here in Colorado, and also getting some clouds and some needed rain up in the region where the fires are starting from out there in northern parts of Canada. So hopefully it gives you a good idea about where the smoke is coming from, how unusual it is. Again, 90 degrees in northern Alberta in May is really, really weird, and that came with strong winds that fanned those flames. It spread those fires like this really, really quickly. And then, of course, now we're seeing that smoke a couple weeks later now start to filter on down here into the lower 48 with over 1 million acres that have been burnt up into northern Canada. So hopefully it gives you a good idea about what we've seen and what we can expect in the coming days. But in the meantime, stay safe out there here, folks. Limit your time outdoors. I know I'm limiting my own runs. I know I'm sure a lot of you are spending less time outdoors than you might normally. Thanks to that wildfire smoke, things should get better by Wednesday and Thursday. We'll have another update for you in terms of the weather coming up here at 2 p.m. with meteorologist Greg Perez, Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabins in at 4 and 5, and then meteorologist Danielle Grant in at 6, 9, 10 tonight on the 9 News Family Networks. Once again, I'm meteorologist Chris Bianchi. Thanks for joining us here on 9 News Plus.